and all of a sudden water starts spurting out at me. I thought things were turning around, but this is very, very disappointing.
Yeah, not good. Surprised I didn't cry yet.
Hello everybody, welcome back to Magic Carpet. In the last episode, we designed the interior lighting for our boat. And although this is still a long way off in terms of installation and final product, it was still really exciting to get an idea of just how beautiful and cozy this boat is going to be. We have the cushions in for a moment, and it's just, I don't know, it kind of instantly transformed it into a place that feels like home. You got somewhere soft to sit. But in this episode, we're back to work. We're getting the cushions out of here, and we're getting back to all the things that need doing.
Since we are running out of time here, definitely, slowly but definitely, the next few episodes might actually be very chaotic because I don't want to continue in the same line of, oh, let's do some primer here and some glass there. Instead, I want to dig into things that I haven't opened yet so that I can think about the process. So I might do something in the engine room, maybe there is a little bit something happening in the galley, some more in the quarter berth.
Oh boy, at this point we were still so naive about what was to come, because we would soon be uncovering one of the most unpleasant surprises we've had on Magic Carpet 2.
So during various lockdowns, I've taken advantage and I've made a few drawings of my ideas. I want to accommodate an engine in the engine room, but also a CV joint, a constant velocity joint, which separates the engine from the hull. You can mount the engine on soft mounts, so there is less vibration, which leads to less noise. It allows for misalignment without there being complications from it. But it means that the whole drivetrain becomes longer. And we don't have room in the engine room for that right now. So one option is extending the engine room further into the galley, which we don't want because it does protrude quite a bit already. So instead, the other option is I'm gonna go into the engine room, and where the shaft tube is located now, there is a plate, and I can cut that one out and then locate it further aft. And then another thing is the fridge, which shall be located here. I guess Maya will take away the countertops here just so that we get a better, clearer idea of what exactly needs to be done. And the other one here was a drawing of the batteries, which I've played around with yesterday a little bit. The idea is to have batteries underneath the quarter berth. So I've made these templates, so to speak, of measurements of pretty normal battery size because we haven't not decided on anything yet. And it's crazy, these lithium batteries, they don't weigh much. That's really a no-brainer then. Once you lift one of these, it's like, man, are you kidding me? AGMs are absolutely ridiculous. Yeah, things are coming together. But for now, it is countertops for Maya and engine room for me.
So we got to work. Now, the galley is the last area of the boat that's actually still intact in its original form. We didn't actually want to make too many changes here. It was more or less functional as is, and beyond just replacing the countertops with something a bit prettier, we weren't planning on doing a major redesign. The only part we weren't quite sure about was the balsa. We've replaced and resealed the balsa insulation in all the other areas of the boat, and although we did find several rotten sections, none of it was too terrible. So we thought maybe, just maybe, we'll leave the galley for a future time. At least, that's what we thought.
Now, what the heck is this, you might wonder? Oh, and by the way, did you know that heck means transom in German? So that's a clue. It is, it is installed close to the heck.
That's actually hilarious.
Yeah. So originally, this is a part of it too. I had to cut it out for installation. Follow me, and I'll show you.
All right.
So I've made a bit of a sketch directly onto the hull. So here we have the stern tube. That's the one that I've revealed. It's this fiberglass tube. Sometimes they're fully out of bronze. There's different scenarios. Just in this section here, those 6 inches are taken up by what is called the cutlass bearing. The shaft goes through here and it's really snugly held by the cutlass bearing. There should be no wiggle room. And when there is, then you have to replace this cutlass bearing. Anyway, this is a replaceable item. You can see that I made a line here and one here. So this is actually the thickness of the hull here. So we've got this much of very solid support for the shaft. And then the next point was this plate here that I've dug out. It was 1 inch of plywood that again holds the stern tube snugly in place. And now I've cut this away, and this is just an example of what I would want this to look like in case I would shorten the tube by 5 inches. But I've done this a while ago. Now that I actually have this component that plays a role here, I can determine this a bit better. Maybe I can take away 6, maybe 7, maybe 5 it is. This was just a rough guess. I tried to clean the tube a little bit yesterday. There was a lot of buildup, and there still is at the bottom because I didn't feel like doing yoga to remove this glass. But that is why I've made these cuts now, so that I don't have to slide it in this way, because it won't slide because there is buildup here, but I can just slide it on from here. And now I can see that this would work perfectly fine. But how far aft would it work? And there's different companies. Some make these measurements a little bit smaller, but I just want to get a bit of an idea.
Now keep in mind that this wooden piece is simply a template to see what fits. It's not the final piece.
So this, as I said, is metal, and it's part of the unit, which is through bolted to the new plate that I will install here, firmly fiberglassed onto the hull. There still is this one required, of course, a dripless shaft seal. I still have to account for this one here. And then behind it, we'll put another plate to have the stern tube as firmly attached as possible. Awesome, we gain a lot of room. And actually, let me bring the engine in here too.
Oh man. All right, here we go.
Well, it's just like one of the batteries, don't worry.
Our engine, ladies and gentlemen.
Our engine.
So this is based off of a Beta?
Yes.
45?
43.
43. Like this, it would fit in our existing cabinet space, right?
Totally.
Because this is a bigger engine than what the boat had originally, which is why we're sort of going to these lengths.
Yeah. So I think now we have excellent room to accommodate everything.
Fantastic. So with the engine room plans starting to solidify and the countertops in the galley all gone, it was time to start thinking about our new fridge. We removed some of the framing in the countertops to make space for it.
And get your thrills on Strawberry Hill. In all your wounds the berries will fill. It'll make your pain taste sweeter. It's when the time stands still. Lean on your...
All right, things are starting to look good. So where Deanie is currently sitting...
Deanie is all cool right now.
You're always so cool, Deanie.
I mean, in terms of temperature.
Yeah. So that's going to be our fridge. That whole area, we're going to have a nice big fridge there. Am I focused? Yes, kind of. Deanie's not.
Baby rhinoceros.
Big enough for a baby rhinoceros, which we will not be eating. But anyway, the fridge will be there. We are thinking of trying to get like a really high efficiency insulation because, of course, as thin as the insulation can be, the better. We're looking at that, but it's going to be a luxury. After Magic Carpet 1's teeny tiny little dysfunctional fridge.
1 cubic foot.
Is that Magic Carpet?
Very
It's 1 cubic foot, and it like takes enough power to power like a walk-in freezer in modern times.
It's original. It's 40 years old. That thing deserves being pat on the back all day.
Deserves being in a museum, and there it can stay. Anyhow, so yeah, the galley dismantling is continuing. What are you doing, Dini?
Cooling down.
Oh, I see. I see.
I am playing around with a frame for a prism up in the bow.
Oh, nice. Cool. Maybe I'll take the camera up there and see what you're doing.
Meanwhile, I'm playing with our new prism frame here.
Glass prisms let quite a lot of light into the boat, which is nice, especially in areas like the V-berth, which can sort of be a bit of a dark hole. But the downside is that these prisms often leak. On a boat with plywood decks, that's especially dangerous. So Aladino is working out a way to install new prisms without the risks of leaks, but so we can still take advantage of the beautiful light they provide.
It is a different dimension and a different type than our original one. Originally, the glass was bedded right into the plywood, and then there was a bronze frame only on top of it. So this one instead, the bronze frame holds the glass. So I was using the router and the guide to make the opening bigger to house this framing. I'm actually very happy with how this is designed. I think it is a big improvement, because every time it would develop a leak, which is possible. We have a lot of different materials that expand and contract and work differently, so prisms are known to leak. But that's why I want to glass all the perimeters, so leaks cannot do harm to the wood. And in case you have to just seal the glass again, it's not like you're taking your X-Acto knife between glass and wood, where you're damaging the wood every time you need to take the glass off. But hopefully won't be required. Materials keep improving as well, so we'll use some badass material here to bed it.
A little while later, Aladino added the epoxy and fiberglass to waterproof the edges. Now we should have leak-free prisms. And even if they do start to leak one day, it won't compromise the structural integrity of the boat, and we can take them out and reseal them. So this project is moving along nicely. But inside the boat, things were not going as well.
Alright, I'm keeping this mask on because I just uncovered a whole bunch of mold.
Also,
Yay! Come have a look. So, this was the balsa.
wow!
Looks pretty gross, hey?
Yeah,
I hate it.
we almost left this area. We've done so much of it.
And this is one of the worst we've found.
Oh, this is absolutely the worst.
Yeah,
It looks like it extends to the right a little bit, unfortunately.
I know.
Ugh, I wanted to leave that.
I know. I don't know where it came from, though. Because up here,
Uh-huh.
it's all perfect.
Up there it's perfect.
So it came from
Hmm.
the countertop. Like, it's only below the counter.
No, it could have come from aft as well. And
But
then-
it's not rotten mask.
No?
I thought things were turning around. But this is very, very disappointing. I cannot believe that we're still finding crap like this. This is crazy. So after digging out all this rotten balsa, I was going down with the oscillating multi-tool down here, and I'm cutting into the fiberglass, trying to remove some of it, and all of a sudden, water starts spurting out at me.
Well, I knew there was water trapped there, and my mistake that I hadn't have it flow away or remove it earlier.
I also knew that we had seen water in these engine blocks before. But what I ended up finding is that You see, I'm gonna put a glove on because I don't want to touch it. This totally rotten, totally saturated, moldy piece of wood was actually right here, covered with only a very thin layer of fiberglass. And there was actually water trapped inside these engine mounts. And so when I was cutting the fiberglass, I just nicked a tiny piece of this wood, and water just started pouring out.
Yeah, those mounts are poorly designed.
That's an understatement. It's crazy. There's still more water in here. I can see it, the stuff that didn't flow out.
Because basically it's almost floating. The mounts are not supported very much. It's basically like a 3x6 that runs aft, and it's not attached to the hull anywhere. And then there is a plywood face on top and on the side.
Anyway, it's evening now. It's time to go in and get cleaned up for dinner, so I'm gonna do that.
All right.
It is hard to overstate just how much of a disappointment, really, it is to find the extent of rot that we have going on in the galley. The reason why the galley was the last piece that we pulled apart was because we really didn't have a lot of intentions of making major changes in the galley. We wanted new countertops and we wanted to move a fridge into a different location, but the whole structure of it, we actually wanted to keep in place.
Totally. Yeah, because rebuilding an interior and making intricate corners and cabinetry is what takes the longest. So I thought that's the one that we can leave, but it doesn't seem to be the case.
When I think this one in particular, the extent of it and just, how we were kind of hoping we wouldn't actually have to do it here.
Totally.
But that's not the case, and so it's time to really rip the galley apart and as much as possible conserve these structures in place so that we can reuse them. Mm-hmm. It is not always possible with a boat to take things out in perfect condition because a lot of the time glue is used and they're just not built to be taken apart.
Yeah, no, especially the construction method used here is screws, but then always wet epoxy. So things never separate at the seam if you decide to keep them. So you have to actually cut them with the fine. Yeah, it is tricky.
I know that by now, many of you are asking the inevitable question, do we regret buying this boat? The answer is no. We knew that there would be a lot of work involved, so that wasn't a surprise. And we also have to remember that at the time, we had so little money that this was the only blue water boat we could afford. And we decided we'd rather buy something cheap and work on it ourselves than to wait years to save up the money for something better. That was a choice we made, and given our unique circumstances with the opportunity to make these videos, it was a choice I'm still happy with. I will say though, that the one big disappointment of this boat has been the fact that it's insulated with balsa. I can't say that I ever recommend buying a balsa insulated boat. The insulative benefits that balsa gives you, contrasted with the potential nightmare it can pose, I don't think it's worth it. We did know that the boat was insulated, but we had mistakenly thought it was insulated with foam, like most Cape Georges. But that's our mistake, and we're working our way through fixing it. On the positive side, this is the very last section of balsa left on the boat that we haven't already repaired and resealed. So once this is done, we really will be well and truly done with the balsa nightmare. And because it's all sealed with a thick layer of epoxy and fiberglass this time, there's very little chance of it ever getting wet again.
Good morning. It's the next day, and I want to take you guys on a tour of our archaeological site. Yes, we have stepped back, unfortunately, in progression. We are back to cave projects. So I've done a lot of digging yesterday, and yeah, I can show the construction of the boat a little better now. But after that, I plan on building a plastic enclosure, and I've committed to spending the whole day grinding. It actually is pretty difficult to get inside the boat right now, so I think I might go inside through the forward hatch, because it is very deep. As you guys can see, there's not a lot in here because there was just too much rotten balsa underneath it. And I've also dug into this cover that was here in the engine room of the engine mounts, and it was just trapping water. It was pretty nasty, and it wasn't doing anything structurally. That will definitely get changed, and actually I'll dig into the other side today, hopefully. But besides that, I wanted to show you guys the floor beams here. So unfortunately, one thing that made me quite mad is that the balsa runs underneath the floor beams, which was really hard to get out. Now I just put shims in place, even going inside here, it's the same style. I was able to draw a line there, and I hope going up it's all good. I might remove the through hole and check the surrounding area, but this might be where we can stop digging.
So the next step was to grind the fiberglass hull to remove the discoloration and prepare it for primer or paint. Grinding is a messy job. The grinder produces colossal amounts of fine fiberglass dust. So to prevent a giant mess over the entire boatyard, Aladino created a plastic tent to contain it all.
Love the Ozarks, take it down by the Willamette River. Washed up on a California sea. Found my breath right in the middle. The Ozarks, the saddle
Use at least 2 mil plastic, otherwise you just shred it up. I keep the vacuums outside because otherwise they just blow the dust around like crazy. So you can see here, the vacuum is just on the other side, but I can remove the clamp, turn it on and off, and just have the hose coming out. I have spare batteries for my headlamp once I come in here because I don't want to go in and out. Spare angle grinder discs, that's something I take with me. As few things as possible in terms of tools, because they just get dirty and you have to clean them up.
Pretty amazing, Deanie. This has been hard work, and you deserve some beer and some snacks and some good food.
All right.
So the boat looks considerably emptier, but it also looks considerably cleaner. The rotten discoloration is gone. The decomposed balsa wood is gone. That feels good. Things are coming together. This isn't how we would have wished it to go, but now that it's done, we're very happy that we got through to the other side, and now we can start rebuilding. I think that perhaps if we had found all of this at the very beginning of the refit, we would have taken it in stride. But recently we've been making such nice forward progress with rebuilding the settees and designing the lighting and painting the walls that it felt weird and backwards to suddenly go back to rough demolition work. But there is now a blank canvas onto which we can build a new galley. Like with all other obstacles, this is something we can overcome. Huge thank you everyone for watching. We're so appreciative to all of you for being here, for supporting this journey. We absolutely could not do this without you. If you enjoyed the episode, please leave us a thumbs up, write us a comment, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell so that you get notified the moment we post a new episode every Friday. Extra big thanks to our patrons for really making this possible, and to these folks who always go above and beyond every week and every month to make sure Magic Carpet keeps being produced. We will see you all next Friday.